What's up, guys, and welcome to this episode of the Styles Files. I'm your host, as always, Alan Styles. Joined with me today by my guy, Evan Giddings. This guy is a producer for 95.7 The Game. He also hosts the 415ers, one of the hottest Niner podcasts right now. Not only does he do that, he is probably the biggest up-and-coming play-by-play guy in the industry right now.
How do you see yourself fitting with them in this team this season?
And ladies, probably the most eligible bachelor in the 415. Evan, thank you for joining. How you doing, my guy?
That was a hell of an intro, Alan. I appreciate you being on. I appreciate being on with you. And no, man, I'm ready to get into it because we got a lot that obviously you're one of the content kings here. You know, talk about up and comers. I mean, every time I'm on social media, whether it's Twitter, IG, Threads now, Alan's always coming with the heat. He's got good takes, good content. So I can't wait to chop it up, man. Appreciate it.
Well, we'll talk about Threads a little bit later because I don't really know where that's going to. I don't know where that's going to go. But real quick, be sure to like and subscribe if you like what you hear. And even if you don't be a hater. Go ahead and join us. And this episode is brought to you by Phoenix and Alameda. If you need to work together as a community, you got your spot here. If you just need a break from the kids and need a break from the cat, need a break from the dog, you got your spot right here. All right, so let's start here. There are a lot of kids and adults that are wanting to be in the industry and get into certain things because, I mean, growing up, I would always look at play-by-play guys, whether it was Joe Buck, hating on Joe Buck because he hates on the Giants, right? But
that's the reason, not the nepotism?
Well, that too. Well, you can speak to that.
Okay,
you can speak to that. But, I mean, I always kind of felt like there aren't really easy ways. I think nowadays everybody can get a podcast, just like we're doing right now. Everybody can start to make content. But play-by-play specifically is a bit more niche than other things. When did you kind of figure out you wanted to get into it? And how's that been going for you?
I mean, no one's told me to stop.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the mentality I've approached everything I do with. You know, as long as people like what you're putting out there, it's kind of like, you know, I equate it to being an athlete. As a college athlete, you kind of understand.
That's right.
You keep leveling up until someone tells you eventually you can't. And so far, no one's told me that I can't do it. So, you know, I wasn't able to traditionally go through a broadcast journalism program. I didn't really have any sort of, you know, direct path into that kind of world, but I just fell into it. There was a local minor league team near where I went to college in Salem, Oregon. Shout out the capital of Oregon.
Shout out.
And they needed someone to host a game here, host a game there. I was terrible at it, but after doing it for a while, people start to encourage you. You start to reach out to others that are in the same business. I would say, I can't speak for all of sports media, but the majority of play-by-play broadcasters are very welcoming, very accepting, because the path is different for everyone. So I didn't really have an idea of what it would take. I just knew that I needed to get reps and get better. And again, you know, we play baseball, so it's, if you want to be a better infielder, you got to take ground balls.
Right.
If you want to be a better hitter, you got to get in the cage.
Yeah.
You know, so that kind of mentality is how I approach play-by-play. And then eventually you get to a point where, all right, if I'm doing baseball, I've done 500 games. So I've experienced the majority of situations that happen in a baseball game. So I know how to call a no-hitter. I know how to call a triple play. I've seen those before now to the point where it doesn't shock me if I'm in that moment.
Yeah.
And then it's just about kind of riding the high. So, you know, getting into play-by-play is something that I think is applicable to everything, just because you're describing literally each situation that you're in, and the moment is ideally supposed to be the content. And then it's just about how you interpret it and then kind of articulate it. So, you know, play-by-play is something I would encourage everyone to do. And even if it's going out to a high school game or a little league game, I mean, I used to sit up in the stands when I was working in Portland trying to do basketball. I had no opportunity to, but I got a chance to get a credential to go to a Trailblazer game. So I sat next to Brian Wheeler at the time, who did play-by-play for years in Portland. And I literally just sat there and used my phone, did play-by-play into my phone, and then went back and listened to it and allowed him to listen to it. And he gave me some tips, and that kind of stuff got me going. And then you get tape, and then you start to roll. So, you know, I wouldn't, even though the path is difficult and it's maybe not as clear as, you know, sports radio or podcasting like we're doing.
Well, sports radio ain't clear.
Well, that's true as well. Yeah, we can get into that in a minute. Nothing is clear, but as long as I think you got the drive and the want to, I mean, just keep going until someone tells you no. And so far, nobody's told me no.
Yeah, nobody has told you no. And you bring up college baseball, which is really interesting because I think it is the first time a lot of people have been told no, right? In a lot of different sports. And you can go overseas and do different things, but specifically the goal that you wanted to achieve, you didn't get to. And it's not that you didn't necessarily see it coming, right? It's not like I was surprised in June that I didn't get a call, but it does take a little bit of time to get over it.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. And I think what's different about that is that it's so clear, hey, you're not good enough. And the new landscape that we're in, where everybody can do a podcast, who's going to tell them they're not good enough, right? Like, there's so much content right now, and I'm so curious. And don't worry, we're going to get into Niners talk. We're going to pick Evan's brain, Niners talk, Warriors talk. We've got the Draymond stuff. Don't worry, we got that for you too. But the landscape of the industry right now, I'm just curious, a lot of these people doing things, and we could be one of those people, right? But, we're on the radio, we're doing different things. But a lot of these people that just decided, athletes included, will there be a great exodus? And at what point will people just get tired of doing it? Or do you think, like for me, obviously, okay, I want to make a bunch of money doing this. I want to do this. I want to do that. How many people do you think have that as a goal? And how many people do you think it's just a hobby and they're not going to get tired of it because they don't have any expectations?
That's a great question. I mean, it's tough because at the end of the day, it's got to be something that has to do with a monetary value.
You got right. These people have kids and stuff, right? And they're out here putting out a lot of content. And I'm thinking, not on my high horse or anything, but just thinking, okay, I'm just a big "what's your plan" guy. That's just me in life general. Like, if I get into something, I need to know what is the end goal here. I can't just do things to do it. And so I'm curious, like what percentage of people are just doing things to do it versus, hey, if somebody sees me, to me, it's kind of similar to almost American Idol at this point. And I'm not, you know what I mean? You're singing in the shower.
But somebody's got to win.
How many people have put out a podcast and been like, that was trash? Right? Every podcast that ends.
If you're self-aware, I think everyone.
No.
I think everyone.
No. People end that podcast, they press stop, and what do they say? Bro, that was pretty fire. That was some good content right now. So this because there's no Paul Simon, there's no Simon Cowell to say, I will never listen to that again. Because it's just exposure.
There's not enough people to say it's a no for me, dog.
Right. No. Somebody's got to say that. Somebody's got to say that.
No, I think that's an interesting, kind of quandary that people gotta balance, and especially now there's not as many gatekeepers. I think kind of what you're talking about, for better and for worse.
Which is good. Yes.
Which is good. There are not people to tell you no and deter you from your dreams, because not everyone knows everything, right? And so that's the balance you got to strike, of which. And I said earlier, no one's told me no. People have said, I'm not going to give you this job. Right. But it's not as if someone said you should stop doing this. Yeah. And so, look, for every job I've gotten, I've applied and been shot down or not heard back by 100. That's just the way it goes. But like a shooter, you got to shoot your shot.
Got to.
And I think ideally, you kind of run into something. A lot of people do have a vision, like you're putting this together. This is incredible. This is a vision that you have, and a lot of people don't have that. But I imagine that it took you a while to get to this point to where you have that clarity and you can actually go out and execute it. So I think when people are getting in, it's just you're throwing stuff at a wall and seeing if it sticks. And then eventually you're getting to where you are now, to where you can, put your dreams as well as your actual work ethic and your skill comes together, opportunity, preparation.
There you go. And by the way, this is the nicest Evan has ever been to me. Don't let him fool you. He's never this nice to me. We hang out when, if I'm filling in for a show or we're just passing by each other. It's always, we have conversations like this, but it never ends this nicely. So
we're both competitive people.
We're both competitive people. Evan pitched back in the day, so I always say I could steal a base off him. I might be able to hit a homer off him. I can definitely hit a line drive up the middle.
Absolutely. You barrel me up.
Terrible launch angle.
You barrel me up.
Yeah, terrible launch angle, by the way. So 415ers, you're doing it through Odyssey. Shout out Odyssey. They pay our bills, some of our bills, right? And you're doing this podcast with our guy, Mark Grandy. How's that been going? I've been seeing on YouTube, you guys are growing like crazy. I see a lot of podcasts cool off when you're out of season, right? But I feel like if there's one sport where you could go all year round, it's football, right? Which is funny because it's the shortest season technically, but you talk about the content king, that thing runs the world. So how's that been going? What's the feedback you've been getting? How can people listen to it? Things like that.
Well, first things first, got to plug the Odyssey app. That's where you can go and
like
download.
We are company men. We're company men through and through.
Download and rate and subscribe to the 415ers, also on 95.7 The Game, who
that's right.
we are both employed by, and I'd like to think do quality work for. You can go and check out the 415ers on their YouTube channel. Subscribe and like while you're there. But I kind of got into it. It was just something where, you were on 49ers post-game last year. Got to work with you a couple times. And at the infancy of that season last year, Odyssey came to me and asked if I'd be interested in doing a 49ers podcast. And of course, absolutely. Another piece of advice I have, which shouldn't necessarily come as a shock, say yes to everything. Anytime someone says, do you want to do something?
Oh my gosh. I mean, because you're talking so me and Evan, we fill in. So I don't care what I'm doing. And, if those who know me know I got a 3-month-old running around, my wife knows I am not saying no. I cannot say no. You can barely see the boot right now, but the Achilles, I called my doctor. I said, look, man, I know it's supposed to be 2 weeks, but I got to get this cast off because you can't miss. You cannot miss opportunities.
Mike Singletary can't do it.
Can't do it.
So
can't do it.
And then from there, it's 3 episodes a week. Again, not all of them were great. Like, I'm not walking out of those podcasts at the beginning saying, man, that was some fire. We came out, we just threw some shots, and we gave some takes.
But you're very self-aware, though. A lot of people aren't as self-aware as you. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes that can also, bring you down a little bit to where I should be feeling a little prouder about myself.
Right.
Somewhere I'll dealing with. But as far as the 4 and 5ers is concerned, it's, to the point now where in the off season, the challenge is coming up with content a little bit. I should say interesting content. I mean, you can always do all right, who's the GOAT? Or, just look at ESPN First Take. That's honestly sometimes that show inspires me in the sense of I walk in each and every day to our job. It's my job to come up with topics, conversations, different information that we can use for 4 hours every single day. And in my mind, I'm like, dang, there's nothing I'm really hot on today. There's nothing that's really hitting me. And that's just the reality. It's not always going to come to you. And I'll look at a show, whether it's First Take or, something on Fox Sports or CBS, and I'm like, that's what they're talking about today? Okay, we might be all right.
Right, right. Well,
we might be okay.
And the people that
how many times can we rank quarterbacks in the NFL?
You got to play the hits, though.
There you go.
You do have to play the hits. So let's get into some of the actual content here that you are talking about. And we are going to talk about the quarterbacks because that is we talk about paying the bills. That's what pays the bills.
And that's what we do on the 4 and 5ers.
That's
you
exactly
got to play
right.
the hits.
So where are you at with this quarterback situation? Obviously, obvious to me and to a lot of people, Brock Purdy's the guy when he comes back. When do you think there will be any overlap? Do you think he's ready for week 1? And what do you make of the Sam Darnold could be number 2 over Trey Lance? Because that is just disgusting to me to hear out loud.
It's tough to hear, but I'm not necessarily against the reality of it happening. Okay. And the reason is there are so many mixed signals coming out of Santa Clara that it's difficult to know which one to ride with and which one to say that's never going to happen. Because and the one thing we do know, having watched the Kyle Shanahan-led 49ers, is something's probably going to go wrong at quarterback.
That's just
the reality of it. And so the signal of Sam Darnold being a $4.5 million signing to be the third-string quarterback doesn't really line up to me. But everything I've seen in his 55 starts would tell me he should be a third-string quarterback.
Right.
So there's a blurred line there. Trey Lance, ideally, as the starting quarterback last season, should have an opportunity not just for the backup job, but you would imagine to compete for the starting job.
Right.
But that doesn't seem to happen because Brock Purdy hasn't lost a game yet and hasn't shown us that he can't do it. So 3rd overall pick versus Mr. Irrelevant, be damned, it's an even playing field. Again, you go back to your own type of, point about All right, well, I'm coming into college.
Right.
It's a blank slate. I'm coming into high school. It's a blank slate. Even on your little league team, like there's no starting position that's yours unless you've proven it.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm of the belief of with the San Francisco 49ers and their quarterbacks, I have not seen anything from all three. You can even throw Brandon Allen if you want in there.
I won't.
That shows me there is franchise material in all three of them. That has not been shown yet. And so if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm looking at my room like we got a lot of options. I can do something different with all three of them.
Right.
And at the end of the day, we got to win games because that's the only way I'm keeping my job.
What else do you need to see from Brock Purdy? Because if that would be the thing everybody would say, how could you not say that from what you've seen from Brock?
So this might sound pessimistic, but I think a great trait in all athletes, or I should say a trait in all great athletes, is what do you do when you fail? Mm-hmm. I have not seen Brock Purdy fail. I've seen him get hurt.
But is that his fault?
No, he's played lesser in certain games. Like he didn't look great against Dallas. Mm-hmm. He didn't look great, in some situations in the regular season, the majority of which he did. But I want to see what happens when you throw that early pick, when you fall behind early. I want to see, just like last weekend, I'm watching Wimbledon. I'm seeing Carlos Alcaraz. He loses the first set to the best player, arguably, of all time.
Yeah.
6-1, gets smoked. Comes back, wins a hard-fought second set, 7-6, goes to the third set, wins, pushes forward, and now all of a sudden we're going from talking about Novak Djokovic being the greatest player of all time to, Carlos Alcaraz, he might have just passed the torch to him.
Well,
there's a lot going on there.
No, and I get it. You have to face some type of adversity. One would argue, and there are a lot of Brock Purdy stands out there. One would argue, well, he came in, the Dolphins, right? That game, the Raider game. Those would be the two arguments off the top of my head. By the way, Alcaraz, that dude is basically Patrick Mahomes on the tennis court. Because I'm not anti-tennis. I just have no reason to get down with tennis. They're all tall. I don't really like that. It just doesn't vibe for me. But I watch Alcaraz.
It's a tough sport to get into, especially because most of the matches are on at 6 in the morning and stuff like that.
It was Nadal, Federer, now Alcaraz, Djokovic, and
Murray was the fourth, but the big three are Djokovic, Federer, and Nadal.
So, to me, all right.
Like Brady versus Manning.
But it's even different because you have other teams that at least, Brady was playing somebody else in the Super Bowl. So that's why it was different to me. But Alcaraz, I'm all right, I've been talking a lot of trash about tennis. Let me at least watch. And I don't know what it is about Djokovic, but I just wanted him to lose partly because
he is the villain.
He is the villain, and he's part of that big three. So just get him out of here. So Alcaraz, he's my guy for now. But no, I think it's a good point when you talk about just facing some type of adversity. There is something in me that does believe or that does feel that I don't think Trey Lance or I don't think Kyle Shanahan is necessarily playing coy, but there's no way. I mean, from what I saw from Trey, did he look like, I don't know, Dak Prescott in the preseason or somebody just tearing it up? No, he didn't. But I did see flashes that are enough to think, look, man, they were calling this man Money Mullins, right? There have been situations. Don't like you forgot about that.
Not Cedric.
Not Cedric. There have been so many quarterbacks that have at least looked decent. Yeah. I just don't believe that Trey Lance is so bad that he won't be serviceable. With some flashes of greatness. And I don't know if he'll get the opportunity. But for Brock, I just feel he has done a lot. He did a lot this last season. But if you do look at the actual numbers compared to him and Jimmy Garoppolo, the touchdowns were ridiculous. But besides that, like, he wasn't lighting it up in the air. Now, part of that is Kyle Shanahan's offense. But when people say how good Brock is, I just want them to keep it relative to the 49ers. Because I don't know how many teams, if you said, hey, we want to trade our QB for Brock, how many teams are doing that? I don't know. And it ain't going to be a team in the dumpster. It's going to be a Jimmy Garoppolo-esque team. You know what? Brock could probably take us some places, but it ain't going to be a team where, all right, Brock's it's not going to be the Texans, right? With CJ Stroud. It's not going to be that.
No, I mean, look, I don't think any of these three guys have the immediate it. Like when you saw Patrick Mahomes, his first game in the NFL, it was week 17 in Denver. That dude was throwing seeds against Chris Harris, Aqib Talib, and a dominant Broncos defense, and nearly won that game. That's something you say, okay, I got to look out for that guy.
Yeah.
First game I ever saw Justin Herbert play, it was due to a quarterback getting injured 15 minutes before the game. He came out and nearly beat Patrick Mahomes in his first game.
Real quick,
yeah,
because I saw this and somebody compared Jalen Hurts' stats on the, I don't know if you saw the Tyrod Taylor, basically saying that Jalen Hurts is super overrated. I am of the mindset that I would like to see another great season from Jalen Hurts, but let's not disrespect Tyrod Taylor. Can we not? We don't need to do that.
I also think Tyrod Taylor, not that he's underrated, but that dude has literally had his legs cut off.
Yeah.
At every single turn, like, all the way back to Virginia Tech and college.
He's got some of the worst injury luck ever.
And the dudes that are playing behind him. Like, and this, well, I don't mean to get off on a tangent about Tyrod Taylor.
No, let's do it.
But the Buffalo Bills really tried to trot out Nathan Peterman instead of Tyrod Taylor, who got them to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, everywhere he has been, they have looked to replace him. He has been the ultimate placeholder no matter what. And it's been unfair because the only time he's actually gotten a starting job from the beginning of the season, he's won. Yeah. Like, he has a winning record. And so, but that's the situation, right? Tyrod Taylor? Probably.
Shout out
Tyrod.
Shout out. I remember he had that Toyota commercial. I don't know if you remember that, where the car drove and the car had its door or its sunroof open, and he just chucks it. And Tyrod, pass it, and he chucks it into the sunroof. I was like, man, Tyrod's making a run. And I think his lung was punctured like 2 weeks later.
Yeah, it's better than Patrick Mahomes State Farm commercials. I give him
well,
that.
that's true. And I know you're going to find a way to reference The Quarterback, the show on Netflix at some point.
Oh, my mind wasn't going there. But I do think a quarterback documentary on the Niners QB room would be fascinating.
Yeah.
And I think if, just bringing it back to Trey Lance, to me, he was misappropriately put into a situation that he was not evaluated for. And for that reason, he was, in my mind, even from the start, set up to fail. Like, I was able to, we're talking about saying yes to everywhere, right? Early in the show. Well, I said yes to working in Fargo, North Dakota. Right. I didn't think much of it at the time.
I heard it's lit out there.
It's one street, and for approximately 3 months of the year, it is pretty lit.
I mean, but that's what gets. So I watch a lot of travel shows, food and travel, and I get so tired of whether it's Guy or whether it's whoever it is. It's their job. I get that, and I'd love to do it. By the way, I know my stuff.
You do,
but when they get out there, the people are always saying the same things. Yeah, up and coming bar scene. Up and coming restaurant scene, up and coming food scene. Really? Really? So I would imagine if I were to go to North Dakota and find that area, hey man, we're really building up. We're really building up the middle of the city here. Don't sleep on it.
I was just about to say, Fargo's population has grown about 25% in the last 2 years.
Everywhere is on the come up. Nowhere is on the come down, besides California, apparently.
It was funny. I remember one time I went to Bismarck, which is the capital of North Dakota for those geologists out there, geographers out there.
There you go.
But I was doing a basketball tournament, and someone came up to me and asked where I was from. And, I said, I'm from California. And they're like, well, what are you doing out here? I said, I'm working in Fargo. They're like, oh, you're a city slicker. I said, are you kidding me? Like, Fargo, Moorhead, North Dakota is the city slicking spot in the north.
That's right.
I guess we got to take it.
I guess we got to take it. By the way, you are listening to the Styles Files with your host, Alan Styles, joined by Evan Giddings, host of the 415ers, producer and host for 95.7 The Game, and play-by-play extraordinaire. And yes, ladies, he's still single. He's still single on the show, at least as far as I know.
We can keep it that way, yeah.
There you go. We'll keep it that way. Thank you, everybody, once again for watching this first piece of content on the Styles Files channel. Thank you once again to my guest, Evan Giddings. Be sure to follow him on social media. Like I said, that guy is going places. And this is just a sample of what's to come on this channel. We got more content to come. We have interviews. We have shorts. So be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on anything. Until next time, be safe, be well, be wise. Peace.